Oh boy, that's thank you. This is not going to be fun. I can tell you right now, this is not going to be fun. Knicks lose to the Orlando Magic, 111-106. In I don't want to say one of the stranger games of the season. It was a strange game, but I mean, before I talk about what this game was, let's go through what it wasn't. I would love to sit here and wax poetic about the fight that the Knicks showed tonight, which they did. Came back from 19 down twice. Tonight's not the night for that. I would love to sit here tonight and talk about how the Orlando Magic are an above 500 team. Now 20, 25, and 23 since December 7th, I believe. Not the night for that. And I would love to sit here, and I would really love to sit here and start by reassuring everybody all is okay. They're still in the 5th seed by, at the moment, a game and a half, although Brooklyn is currently up by 4 on Cleveland. We'll see how that game turns out. And, it's a little bit of the night for that, but even not really, because this year, for as great as it has been to climb up to 5, it hasn't really been about what seed it was. It's been about the vibes and how we had what was the first 23 games of the season, with the exception of 26 and 23. GMAC's let me know. So yeah, they've been pretty good for about 50 games now. After our first 23 games of the season, coming off of just an abysmal last season, I mean, the vibes were just so bad. And then, since that, after that Dallas game, that first Dallas game, it's been kind of a magic carpet ride. It hasn't all been pretty, hasn't all been fun. And I have a feeling this is going to be the most, and negative is not the right word, but this is going to be the most hand-wringing, that we've had in a post game since the Laker game, which was, again, it was like a month and a half ago, or maybe close to 2 months ago. So that's really the issue. And we're going to talk about Julius, and we're going to talk about RJ, and we're certainly going to talk about Jalen Brunson. Boy, there were some. I just glanced briefly when I tweeted out earlier today that Brunson was sitting in this game. Just retweeting the Knicks PR account, and I just glanced briefly at some of the responses, and I don't know if that was representative, but the notion that this team for one single solitary second is better without Jalen Brunson on the floor, is nonsense, for a variety of reasons. Put that aside. This, for the first 20 minutes of this game, and really it was the first 20 minutes, but it was really a stretch of time, or whatever it was, until they made that end of the second quarter comeback. Really, it was that stretch of time. I think it was the end of the first and basically most of the second, where it looked like a team. I mean, the beat writers were all tweeting out stuff, making jokes about it, as they should have. It was earned. That they look like they just met on a court for the first time. It was staggering. It was the worst they've looked all year. It looked like a group of guys that just had completely lost their identity, which is kind of scary, because when the Knicks were killing it, especially after the Hart trade, they weren't killing it because of talent. They were killing it, I think, more than anything because, as I've said many times, they were a team that knew exactly what they wanted to do on every single possession, and they did it, more or less. They didn't always make every shot, but they always did what they had to do, and on both ends. And between the I don't know what was worse, honestly, the defensive struggles or the offensive struggles in the first half. And I know the Magic only I don't know what the Magic actually scored. I quite frankly don't really care, because if they were playing a team like the Magic, we'll get to the fourth quarter in a bit, but the Magic are not the sort of offense, and they showed themselves to not be the sort of offense tonight that can really hurt you. They scored 53 points in the first half. If they were playing, if the Knicks were playing 15 other teams, that would have been a 70-piece easy, if not more. So Like, both sides, again, were bad. And then they came out, and I will give them the credit. They got down again, but coming out of the gate worries you because it's like, okay, you got the lead down to 8, and I'll get back to the Julius technical in a bit, but you got the lead down to 8-9 after the technical free throw coming out of halftime, and you're like, you're right there. You got it single digits, right? And just like, again, it's just something missing. And this is where we kind of veer into starting to need to talk about individual players, but so whatever. They got down by 19. They made the spirited comeback. I mean, Quentin Grimes. Let's give a big shout out to Quentin Grimes. First time in his career he scored more than 20 points 2 games in a row. Super encouraging sign. And not for guys. I'm sure Kevin Danishevsky, even though he's sad tonight, there's a part of him that's smiling because his boy is blowing up. People who have believed in Quentin Grimes for a while, your faith has been rewarded because this is what this guy could do. And quite frankly, who's to say that this meat on the bone hasn't been there for a while, and it's just by virtue of the fact that he is on a team where he doesn't get a lot of usage that it's taken a while to come out. So, but great stuff from Grimes. Great bounce back from Quickly. Quickly could not hit the far side of a barn in the first half. I don't want to praise Quickly too much because for as great as he was in the third quarter, and he was phenomenal, he was just he contributed to why they were losing as much as they were losing in the first half. Just very, very, very off. We hope that third quarter performance Quickly kind of found himself, and now he's going to hit the home stretch, being more of the guy that hopefully hasn't played himself out of 6th man of the year with how he's performed of late. We'll see. So they made the big spirited comeback, and then, poetic justice. I don't know. Well, let's see. We could do some quick math right here and right now. So the Magic in the fourth quarter, 7 of 8 from 3, just fitting. So they shot 13 of 32 for the game. So they shot just over 40%. How funny is that? Because I sent it out in the Substack chat earlier today that the Magic are I think they're 13-6 this year when they shoot above 40% from deep. So you could mark down another win in that column. But before the fourth quarter, the Magic were 6 of 24 for three. And then they hit more threes in the fourth quarter than they hit the entire previous game. And that is the part that is fitting and that is the part, I think, even more so than any of the individual performances that we saw. The fact that this team, that when they have been at their best this year, as I'm looking up and I see the Nets are now up 10, make that 8. When they have been at their best this year, they have ultimately been able to win games with defense. Not great defense, but defense that has been just good enough. And I kind of want to give them a pass on some of those in the fourth quarter because you're giving up threes to guys that you kind of feel comfortable taking the threes, like Paolo, and then at the same time, it's like, why are you helping off of those guys in the first place? It's because you're not bearing down strong enough to stop the initial penetration. And that was the problem in the Miami game. And God knows that was the problem in the Minnesota game. And that's generally been their problem when when their defense falls apart. It's because it's the point of attack. And I can't blame it on Jalen Brunson tonight. Cannot blame it on Jalen Brunson tonight. You want to tell me, Deuce McBride? Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get some blame Tibbs stuff because, Deuce McBride only played however many minutes he played. I look, Emmanuel Quickly, Quentin Grimes, Josh Hart, and theoretically RJ Barrett. In theory, those guys should all be positive perimeter defenders. And putting Barrett aside, because I'm obviously being a little facetious with him, the other 3 have been great defenders all year. So and it wasn't all Julius Randle either. So again, we're going to get to Julius. Let's get to Julius now because we're burying the lead here. So Julius Randle, my God, what a maddening player. It's incredible. What was it? 5 days ago? 3rd most points in Knick history. And then he comes out tonight and is just really bad, not hitting shots, kind of taking some. It's like I've praised him many times in past games where it's like, you know what's great about Julius this year when he starts out and he's not hitting the three, he goes away from it and he figures out other ways to score. Didn't happen tonight. If anything, he leaned more. He's like, oh, I don't got it tonight. You know what? I'm going to keep flinging away. And the shots just kept missing by more and more. That was disconcerting. The overall effort level that he gave was disconcerting. And look, I'm sure he's not getting the calls that he. I don't. Does he deserve more calls? I'm not going to sit here and comment on it. To lose your cool, I think it was his third straight game with the Tech. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong on that. When your teammates try to get you away, and within a few seconds, like they're like, you looked at Quickly, especially when he was trying to pull Julius away, and within a couple seconds, Quickly was like, "This is a lost fucking cause." And then eventually Julius got the tech and walked away, and then Quickly went back to him, and then Julius started losing it on Quickly. It was very reminiscent of the Evan Fournier scene going into, I think that game also was going into halftime last year, if I recall correctly, or it was at the end of a quarter or something. It's amazing to me that a month ago I was reading articles in which this same guy was talking about how important it was for him to get his mental right this year. And that is clearly still an issue. Now, there's going to be a lot of nasty things said about Julius, I have a feeling, in this post game, and we're going to have this team now has 3 days off, which I actually kind of think is a good thing. I feel like they need to get away and like just kind of recalibrate, and how close other teams, the Miami or Boston or Brooklyn or whoever gets to them in that time frame, we'll see. But like, there's going to be a lot of conversation, which I will not be taking part in. But tonight on this, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of negativity. And look, that's earned, because this is not the first time or second time or fifth or 12th or 18th time that we've seen stuff like this from Julius. He's our guy. And I know not everybody shares that opinion. I know that there are people out there who, even as he has rebounded back into all NBA form, we're never really all the way back in, or people that were kind of back in, but they kind of wanted to have one foot out just in case. And now here's the just in case. Look, not a perfect player, not a perfect human being. None of us are. And I understand he's a professional athlete and more is required and more is expected. And when you're the leader of a team, as I forget if it was Breen or Clyde that said it, coming out of halftime, like, you're the leader. You're the leader. And that's why, again, going back to Jalen Brunson, forget what he does on the floor. Jalen Brunson's their leader. And that's another reason why you miss him, is because you can only lead so much wearing sweatpants on the sidelines. But I digress. Julius just needs to be better. And this is going to continue to be his challenge moving forward. I completely think that last season's evaporation into a puddle had nothing to do with a skill issue or even a conditioning issue, like has been kind of alluded to at times, is all above the neck. This guy, when he's right, he's one of the 15 or 20 most talented players in basketball. And when he's not, he could sink your team. You just got to roll with it. And it's tough, but that's kind of what I want to say about it. And like, look, probably the most disappointing part to me was he came out in the third quarter and I felt like his head was nowhere near the game. Now he checked out and he checked back in, and I thought he was a little bit more into it after that in the fourth quarter. Not good enough. And he deserves any criticism for tonight, but like, I'm not selling my Julius Randle stock because of this game or even because of the last game. He's just not in a great place right now. It happens. It's unfortunate. RJ Barrett. What are we gonna do? I thought the smartest thing that was said, and I was asked about it last night or after the Miami game, and I of course fumbled my words around it because I am not as good at this as others, but about RJ only took 13 shots, right? Why didn't he take more shots? And Benji, I think it was either late last night or today, Benji Ritholtz was like, to all the people who were screaming RJ Barrett needs to score more or take more shots, Not sure if that was the conclusion to draw from last night. And tonight, RJ was 3 of 12, and one of those I do want to add was on I think it was Josh Hart was like falling out of bounds and like threw it to RJ, who was right under the basket, and just put it in. With 5 turnovers, 3 assists, and he was minus 15. Not the worst on the team. Obi was actually the worst on the team, minus 25. Oof. How about Julius Randle being a plus 20? That's funny. But yeah, RJ was very bad, and I'm not going to kill him. Just like I'm not going to kill Randle, other than like acknowledging that this was a hellaciously bad night for Julius Randle. I'm going to acknowledge that this was a hellaciously bad night for RJ Barrett, but I'm going to try to be fair and keep things in perspective. And the perspective here, I think, is what we saw from RJ Barrett last night and what we've been seeing from RJ Barrett over the last 4 games, which are the first 4 games. Prior to 4 games ago, he hadn't shot over 50% from the field, which is not a statistic I like to use, but it was the one I happened to look up today. He hadn't shot over 50% from the field more than 2 times in a row. And going into tonight, he had shot over 50% 4 times in a row. I understand effective field goal percentage; those numbers may better and may differ, and those are better numbers. Whatever. That's his role. That's his ideal role. When there's a number 1 and a number 2, and he's the number 3, and he's playing within himself, and he has moments where he looks like, oh wow, this guy could be doing a lot more. Yeah, guess what? That's what all the best number 3s in the league. That's what it is. And in a perfect world, when your number 1 and your number 2 is out, they could step up to the plate. Now, we have seen RJ step up to the plate a lot. Didn't do it tonight, which is another reason. I'm not trying to overreact. That said, he was awful. And they got all the momentum back at the end of the 3rd quarter, tie game going into the 4th, and that RJ-led bench unit. And it wasn't just him. He's one of 5 guys out there, but like he was pretty clearly with the turnovers, and I think he had a missed shot or 2. Not great. Not great. Think that's about it. I thought Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein, give him props. He was a big part of the 3rd quarter comeback. I also thought Mitch was really good. Again, we had another social media thing with Mitch. I'm not even going to bring it up, but like off court, I don't know what's going on with Mitch. On the court, I thought he was good tonight. I thought he was very good. I thought him and Hartenstein were good. I didn't think the centers were the problem. Yeah, I mean, now it comes down to New York has 3 days to look themselves in the mirror and figure out what do we got left. The last thing I'll say before we get to personal injury report and moment of the game, I have no idea what the freaking moment of the game is going to be. I'm going to need Andrew to come up and help me with that. The last thing I'll say is this. Other than it's now a 4-point game, by the way, between Cleveland and Brooklyn. Can't believe I have to sit here and root for the freaking Cavs. Every team in the league this year, I think with the possible exception of the Kings, who just like ho-hum their way along, and it's just like the good ship lollipop, and all they do is win. No pun intended. Other than the Kings, every team in the league this year has gone through a major crisis of confidence. And I'm talking about really, really good teams. The Sixers, for the first 20 or whatever games, not good. The Celtics, the last month and a half. Denver, recently. Memphis, recent for a little while, quite a little while now. Milwaukee went through a stretch where it was like, wait a minute, it's like February and the Bucks are 19th in offense. Like, what's going on here? And you could go up and down the line. Maybe Cleveland's actually the other team that hasn't gone through something really bad, although they've had a lot of problems closing close games. So even them a little bit. I understand, the Knicks, again, the first 23 games happened, and that was really bad, and it was ugly, and it was unpleasant in many, many ways. But for the better part of the last 3.5 months, it has been really smooth sailing with some hiccups here and there, oftentimes associated with injuries, we should say, whether it be to Brunson or Mitchell Robinson. It would not surprise me if this was their version of our foot's been on the gas for 4 months or whatever it is, 3 months. And they're kind of just, maybe it's a little mental, maybe it's a little emotional, maybe it's physical. I don't know. But just like the lack of crispness you saw tonight, to the degree that you saw it, I wonder if that's what it is. Did they pick a bad time to do it? Absolutely. Could there be really, really bad repercussions if this somehow turns into, oh shit, the Knicks are the Knicks looking at a possible play-in situation? Yeah, that would be really fucking bad. I'm not there yet. I keep saying it. As Spencer freaking Dinwiddie gets a bucket. I keep saying it, that when this team absolutely needs a win, they come up with a win. I did not feel today was that game. I shouldn't even say this out loud, but I texted as soon as the Brunson questionable news came down. I texted one of my group chats that Andrew's on. I was like, "Oh, they're losing this game." I just didn't have a good feeling about the game. I don't think we're there yet. I think they have time left. The margin of error is gone. But they got time left to pull it together. And I don't see anything, and this is the last thing I'll say, we'll move on. I don't see anything fundamentally broken about them. That's just me. It's just me, which I'm generally an optimist with this stuff. I do not see anything fundamentally broken about them, where I feel like this is just headed in the wrong direction and we're not getting it back. And especially I'm not going to draw any such conclusion on a night that Jalen Brunson didn't play. Okay, I think that's it. Sorry that was longer than usual. We'll get to all the super chats though. Personal injury report, which we actually have a personal injury report today, presented by our good friends at Weiss and Rosenblum. Don't forget, if you think you may have a personal injury case, call the law offices of Weiss and Rosenblum today at 212-366-6100. One more time, that is 212-366-6100, or visit them at weissandrosenblum.com for more information. Call for an absolutely free consultation. They do not get paid, of course, with any case, unless you get paid. So that's important. And they're veterans, not rookies. Don't go with rookies. Go with veterans. Although tonight the youth set us free tonight. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes, but yeah, give them a ring and you'll be happy you did if you think you have a case. Okay. Personal injury report. Jalen Brunson. Sore hand. I don't know what the hand situation is. Whatever it is, it's something that is less than ideal. And I don't think for a second that, like, and I know there was some speculation before the game, like, maybe they're just giving him a day. No. There's no days. Not this time of year. I think if he could have played, he would have played. How is Donovan Mitchell on the free throw line right now after they just scored? I don't know, but Cleveland has a chance to tie this game. Fascinating. Let's hope Jalen Brunson's hand is fine. That's what I'm going to say. Mitchell Robinson also appeared on the injury report today. He played after, and there was a lot of more talk today, especially with Brunson, with Robinson mostly showing up on the injury report about the refereeing last night, and all of it was deserved. It was bad refereeing. And by the way, the refereeing tonight wasn't very good either. Just say that. I guess we should add Julius Randle's injured pride to the. Sorry, this Nets game is over. Oh my God. The Cavs just hit a corner three and are now up 116-114 with 0.7 seconds remaining. The Nets may lose. Isaac Okoro, I love you. Sorry. There we go. I needed a smile. I needed something fucking good to happen tonight. Jesus Christ. Okay, this is Tibbs fitting into the personal injury report on Julius Randle's latest outburst. You want the emotion to get out of it. You can allow for idiosyncrasies as long as it doesn't get in the way of winning. Nothing gets in the way of winning. Yeah, I agree. Okay, moment of the game. I'm going to need the GMAC up here because at this point I'm ready to put that Isaac Okoro 3 as the moment of tonight.
Real talk. I've got it on and thought the same thing. It's like, the one positive outside of Quentin Grimes that happened tonight.
After Donovan missed the free throw.
Missed the free throw, exactly. I need to start with a moment of reflection on myself to make this completely self-involved. I apologize, everybody, because the people John was subliminally mentioning about like, oh, we're better off without Brunson. I did not go that far that they're better off without Jalen Brunson. All I said was like, oh, the defense might actually be a little bit better tonight because we get 48 minutes of Quickly and Deuce. And I was quickly reminded in the second quarter how much IQ boosts the second unit and makes it better. Every time they needed a bucket and just didn't have anywhere to go with it against a Magic team that was begging the Knicks to come back and win this game. And that's like they're going to be, I think they're going to be maybe one or two, like because the Knicks play so much drop, there are wide open threes. I actually thought the threes that were wide open in the fourth quarter were mostly like miscommunications on switches. It had nothing to do with the scheme. And then you add in the fact that the Knicks defense allowing the threes that they did to the Magic for 3 quarters got them back in the game. That third quarter, the Magic could not buy a bucket, at least in the second half.
But
and the Knicks came back as a result of a team being 6 of 24 from 3.
But just to be clear, that's why I sent out in the Substack chat some of the stats that I did. This Magic team, when they don't shoot, I think it's at least 26% from 3. They don't have any wins. I think they're 0-14. Like they can't. They do need a certain number of threes to win, and that is kind of how you have to guard them because of Fultz and because of Paolo Banchero, who are, even though Paolo's a rookie, 2 of the absolute bests inside the arc. I mean, you saw what Fultz did tonight. And then, by the way, Cole Anthony, a guy who he's not bad either when he gets cooking inside the arc. So, like, that's 3 guys right there. Oh, and I haven't mentioned Franz Wagner, the guy who, oh my God, can you imagine if the Knicks had him as their starting small forward? Ooh-wee. But we won't go there. Yeah, so like they have a lot of ways to hurt you inside the arc, and so like you kind of do need to try to pay attention to that first and foremost. And they're a crappy shooting team. You're gonna give up those shots, and you hope they don't go in. And for 3 quarters they didn't, and for 1 quarter they did.
Yeah, I got no smoke for like the scheme or their process, other than the fact that they missed a ton of shots in the first half, really the first 2.5 quarters of this game, and then
the Knicks are talking about now.
Yeah. The RJ thing is so like I'm tired of talking about it, to be honest. But
why would you be? What's better to fucking talk about than this? We should talk about this for every day.
I just like I don't know. Like Julius is gonna get the attention for the outburst, and I tweeted it out just like, yeah, I wish the Knicks had one extra point that they didn't have to worry about, but like I actually thought you mentioned that he didn't pick it up until the fourth quarter. I actually thought he recognized he didn't have it in the third quarter, like shooting wise, and started passing more. He had 3 assists during that comeback. So I thought he actually picked it up like midway through the third when they started mounting that comeback,
I agree with you. His offensive process, I liked it a lot more in the third quarter over the second. I was talking specifically the second quarter when he realized he didn't have it. He kept firing away. After halftime, I thought that got better. I did not think he was mentally engaged in the game as mentally engaged as he needed to be defensively, specifically, I should say.
Yeah.
So you want to do
Isaac Okoro might. It's not going to be our moment of the game. I do have candidates, but that changes some things because I was prepared to talk about the scenario where the Knicks are in a 3-way tie on Monday because both the Nets and the Heat play 2 games, one of which is against each other. So I guess that technically couldn't have worked out. The point is, damage would have been done in the standings because the Heat played twice. The Nets, had they won this game, could have potentially jumped the Knicks with 2 more wins this weekend.
And if people are already looking ahead and really want to get nuts, the first tiebreaker between the Nets and the Knicks is division record. The Knicks have played all their games in the division, and they are a half game up on the Nets, who have 1 division game remaining, and that division game is the last game of the season against the Philadelphia 76ers, who the hell knows who is going to be playing for the Philadelphia 76ers in that game. Now, if the Nets win that game and tie the Knicks for division record, I believe the next tiebreaker between the Knicks and the Nets would be conference record. I don't know if you want to do a quick double check on that.
It is. Are you sure that they have? Oh, they do have a tie. Okay. Yeah, the Nets are 7-8. So then the Nets
exactly.
Conference record,
and the Knicks are 8-8. Yeah.
The Knicks have
but the Nets can tie that. And I believe the next tiebreaker is conference record.
It is.
The Knicks are 28-19 in conference. The Nets are I don't know if actually this updated.
So the Knicks have clinched it. The Knicks have clinched it.
No,
Oh
they
no, they
haven't.
have to finish out their schedule. They have the lead on it. They have the lead.
They're 28-20 and 28-19 in conference. The Nets are 26-19 in conference. So the same amount of losses, and they both have a bunch of games left against the Eastern Conference. So the Nets certainly have time to come and play catch up. Look, I don't think we're there yet. And again, the Knicks still have a game against the Miami Heat. Yeah. I know the way they played tonight doesn't feel like they're beating anybody, but let alone the Heat team that we saw last night. But again, that's why I'll go back to what I said earlier repeatedly this year. They do seem to find a way. Okay, what are your moment of the game candidates?
Real quick, shout out Dirty Dancer in the chat. Just had a really funny comment. Like, I don't even talk about my exes the way you talk about RJ. I talk about my exes the way people talk about RJ. I'll tell you that much.
Well, listen, okay. in 4 months he's going to be an ex, so we can talk about him.
So there we go. We can put him in that what am I trying to say? Clarification, whatever. Designation. That's the word I'm trying to come up with. All right, the 4 candidates that I have. And how do you feel about putting the Julius and 1 in here? I have it like on the outside looking in. It did cut it to 3, but it was also like, do we have Julius on here tonight?
No, that's his penalty. No more of the game.
So there was a loose ball that I thought Hartenstein got fouled on late in the third quarter, and he dove for it and hit Quentin Grimes for like they stayed with the play. So it's a Hartenstein dive, Grimes dunk.
Great.
So it leads to 2 of them. The Hartenstein block and slam when he first came back into the game in the third quarter is one of them. Great. And then it's technically a Randall 2 points, but the play that stood out when they were trapping down the stretch, a Josh Hart steal that thank you, Orlando Magic, for being a young team. Those are the 3 candidates that I got. It's a Hart steal to a Randall dunk.
That's fine. Yeah. I like it.
4, and then we played the free throw game.
As long as we got a Grimes thing in there, because this was man, when's the last 3-star game Quentin Grimes had? He almost had one yesterday, but I ended up giving it to RJ. Yeah, it's good.
Wouldn't it be the Would it have been the Dallas game?
Oh, I don't even know if I don't know if I had the wherewithal to award stars after that.
That's why I wondered,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. I'll see. Anyway, all right.
Let's get into it.
I guess we got to do this. Oh, I now I have to change the channel because I see Frank Isola's face on. It's unpleasant. Although I'd love to know what Frank Isola is saying about his Nets. Jesse M, what's going on, Jesse? Mitch is allergic to guarding stretch bigs. It's not allergy. I'll lean on again. This is a benchy point that I'm going to steal from him liberally. That is a scheme thing. So if there is a high pick and roll, and the guard and there's penetration, Mitch is going to go with the penetration, and he will try to. And he's not the only one that's going to help down. Someone else is going to help off so that Mitch could kind of start to hedge back. But if there's an immediate kick out, Mitch is supposed to get back out. That's not on Mitch. Blame the coach if you want for that. But they are going to give up threes to stretch bigs. Usually now, not always the case. And you know when they didn't do it? They didn't do it last night. And there were more than a few instances last night where, and granted, there was some other confusion that led to the buckets, but because Mitch was sticking to Kevin Love on the perimeter, the Heat were having all kinds of fun inside the painted areas. So again, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You need to just play sound defense. It all starts at the point of attack. It all starts about walling off the penetration, and that is not what they're doing right now, unfortunately. Surprised the first comment was about Mitch. Thought Mitch played a good game. Will Oliver, what's going on, Will? Concerned about Randall keeping composure in the playoffs, as you should be. No doubt teams will get physical with him and try to bring out the worst version. Need Brunson. Yeah, so again, talking about matchups, I think there was a question last night about would we rather face Boston. You know who Boston has on their roster? Boston has Marcus Smart. And you know who I wouldn't want to face in a playoff series if I had a guy that was a little volatile? Marcus Smart. Just throwing that out there. Thank you, Will. Appreciate it. Jesse M with another one. Thank you, Jesse. I've complained all year about the Thibodeau scheme of helping off shooters, leaving wide open threes. We'll come back to hurt them eventually. Look, it's I lose a little bit of credibility when I keep going back to this because they are the 17th ranked defense in the league. Maybe they'll move up to 16th after. They're a middle of the road defense. They're not a bad defense. Like if you look at their points per game or points per 100 possessions that they give up, their defensive rating, there's like a group of about 8 or 9 teams that are within literally 1 point per 100 possessions of each other. It's the middle of the pack. They're not a great defense. They're not a bad defense. They are a mediocre defense. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Jesse, but I just anyone who says this is like, oh my God, how could you be giving up these threes? I want to be like, spend a night flipping around on League Pass and just watching. Go try to look for the good defense out there. Go look for the defense that has the foolproof plan to stop anyone. You're not going to find it. Like there are some teams that defend better than others, and it's not a coincidence that the teams that defend really well and that have the really good defensive rating are ones that have like 3 all defense candidates like the Bucks or like last year's Celtics who had, I think, 5 guys who got all defense votes, it's just defense is harder than ever. And you're going to have to pick and choose what you want to give up. Now you could be better. You could be crisper. You could pay more attention to detail. And that's what they did when they were, a top 10 defense for like a 2.5 month stretch this season. When you don't do that, looks bad. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? Oh, I wonder what Kevin is going to be super chatting about tonight. RJ was awful tonight. I can't emphasize how bad he was. You put awful in all caps, so maybe you did. Frustrating that we went away from Quentin Grimes in the fourth. I'll give Julius some credit for bouncing back. So going away from Quentin Grimes in the fourth, I mean, that he needed a breather. As far, I do want to go back and rewatch the possessions after he came back in at, what was it, about the 7-minute mark and change. I know he got a 3, a good look at 3 that didn't go down. It was halfway down with about 5 minutes to go or 4 and change. And a couple people on the super chat or on the Substack chat commented like that felt like it might have been our best chance. Could they have run it more through Grimes in the fourth? I'm sure they could have. I do want to go back and rewatch, though. Thanks, Kev. Mythic Monty, what's going on, Mythic? We don't want to hear any nonsense about how this loss is justified because this is a scrappy Orlando team. You're not getting that from me. They know every game is a must-win now. Yep. And again, they are a scrappy team. Let me read this. Colin Reardon in very serious danger of falling to the play-in. Orlando's scrappy. I didn't think they played particularly well tonight. And look, again, give the Knicks defense a little bit of credit for forcing the issue at times during the second half. But like the Magic didn't hit shots. The Magic were, I think, 6 of 24 from 3 through the first 3 quarters. Like they allowed the Knicks to hang around this game. Yeah. So you're not getting that from me. Anyway. Rich McLeod, too bad there's no more RJ slander allowed. Have a good live stream, brother. Hold on, I just saw that we retweeted this from New York Basketball. This is Alan Hahn on RJ Barrett. Start of the fourth has been throughout the season RJ Barrett's time. He didn't raise his game. Played well of late, but in a moment like that, he's got to start growing now into a leader. You got to have the game to match. And like, we spent so much time talking about so much nonsense with RJ Barrett. So much of it is nonsense. How about this? Where's his handle at after almost 4 seasons? You're an NBA wing. Can you shouldn't you have a handle that allows you to, like, get downhill if the initial, like, once they attack the initial screen to the point where it backs you up. Now, usually at that point we see teams, they back off the double and then they just go back to single coverage. But tonight we saw the Magic continue to be aggressive, which I think led to one, if not both, of the turnovers that I'm thinking of in the fourth quarter. Like, shouldn't you be able to maybe dribble out of that? Or at the very least, pass the ball. 2 on the ball, pass the ball. Sometimes leadership is not doing it yourself. Sometimes leadership is knowing when to give it up, like Andrew was alluding to with Julius in the second half. How about that? Just a thought. Thanks, Rich. Alex, look on the bright side. Worst case scenario is we fall to the play-in and get knocked out in the elimination games. Also, Dallas falls out of the play-in entirely and we don't get their draft pick. I think we're getting Dallas' draft pick. I did have that thought today for the first time in a while. I'm like, man, could you imagine? I don't want that at all. I want to make the playoffs. At this point, if you allowed me to sign for the 6th seed, I would think about it. I really want to make the playoffs. I think it's important for this team. I think it's important for this franchise. Given where they are at, specifically where they are at. Another franchise, I might say something differently. For this franchise, I think it's really important that they get in the playoffs and not have to go the play-in route, let alone get in the play-in route and then lose to retain their draft pick. Thanks, Alex. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? Still not worried. I have a few concerns, but I'm not worried yet. I just wanted to remind the chat that we were all projecting 35 wins this season. They will straighten this out by the end of the year. I said 43 wins. My ceiling for this team was 46 wins. They are now 42-33. Of their remaining games, they will be, might change now, but like they will be favored against Houston. I actually think if Brunson plays, I think they're going to be favored against Miami. Then they go to Cleveland. There'll be a dog there. And then they close the season, Washington, Indiana, New Orleans, Indiana. If they cannot figure out a way to get 5 more wins, I'm not going to finish that sentence. I think they will figure out a way to get 5 more wins, which would put them at 47 wins for the season, which to me, that is over and above, I think, even the most optimistic projections. So perspective is good. Again, bad timing with this stretch. Just bad timing. It happens. Frank Miranda, what's going on, Frank? Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see where Frank goes tonight. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. Sorry, RJ ain't it. He is an inefficient, high-volume scorer, which is virtually extinct in the modern game. Sorry, but Grimes needs to have a bigger role than RJ. Hashtag RJ Hive stand down. They'll come up with some nonsense. I just hate the whole Hive thing. Why can't we just, like, we're all Knicks fans, right? Like, I know it's 2023, and I know everybody needs to have their corner where they plant their flag because, everybody wants to be the star of their own fucking story, and that plays into it. Like, we're all Knicks fans. Can't we just all be Knicks fans? And like, if someone is bad, just be like, hey, they're not good right now. It's okay to still believe in the player. It's okay to say, hey, Macri, you're wildly off base selling your stock on RJ. You're going to be made to look like a fool when he puts it together in a year or two. Totally agree. I love that energy. I need that energy because I'm more not a believer than a believer. The Hive shit, though, is just like, actually, you're not seeing what you think you're seeing. You're whatever. I'm not going to get into it. Look, RJ is going to be okay. He just needs to be in the role that is better suited for him. And I have yet to believe that he can be a top 2 option on a good team. That's it. HamDM, what's going on, Hamdy? And thank you, everybody, for the generous contributions after what I know was not a fun night. I don't know what to think at this point. I don't know who to be frustrated at. That's probably a good sign. You don't know who to be frustrated at. The three's not falling for Randall and Emmanuel quickly. RJ is hot and cold. I'm trying to stay positive, John. If anything, #worried. It's fine to be worried. It's fine to be worried. I mean, again, like, oh my God, you want to talk about it? I mean, listen, I'm just going to say this right now. That Houston game, if that is remotely a game in the fourth quarter, I feel like I'm being fairly calm tonight. You're going to see a very different version of me, win or lose. I promise you, on Monday. And then you got the Heat game, and that's the game. That's the game. You want to put all this stuff to bed. You want to make it so that the last three games didn't happen. There is your opportunity. Go and win that Heat game, and none of this matters. I'll say that again. Win the Heat game, and none of this matters. I believe that. Because I also believe at that point, they'll take care of business down the stretch. Thanks, Hamdi. Dom, what's going on, Dom Cappuccini? How are you, my man? Sharpness is the issue for some time now, not effort. Yeah, I don't like... Look, we're Knicks fans. We have a lot of experience watching teams go out there and not give a shit. That's not what this is. It's a sharpness. It's a lack of focus. It's all those sorts of things. I think the losing streak is in their heads. Completely agree. Time to embrace the potential of the 6th seed. Bitter pill, but still success if they avoid the play-in. Good night. Oh, this is not great. This is Tibbs said he doesn't know if Brunson's going to play on Monday against Houston. He'll be evaluated when we get back. Well, again, if Jalen Brunson's out for any sustained period of time, then it's a whole different conversation about what the rest of the season is and is not. Thanks, Tom. Jesse, another one. I'll echo Frank. RJ like fire and ice efficiency. And that's, like I talk, it's funny, to me at least. Whenever there's a new Zion injury report, or recently when all the Ja stuff was happening, there were a few people who were like, you know what? Maybe we dodged the bullet when we got RJ Barrett, because at least, he stays on the floor, and at least there's none of this other nonsense. When you have this wild of fluctuations for a player where it's so hot and cold. Now, again, I want to try to be even keeled when I'm talking about this, which is hard for me because this is not a player I am partial to. And I've readily admitted that many times. I do want to be even keeled about this. And I want to acknowledge that he was playing in a different role these last 4 games in which he's been very good. And tonight he was asked to step into a very different role, by the way, against a defense that was very well suited to guard him. So, let's try to pump the brakes. That's all I'm saying. Me included. Emil Bumansor, what's going on, Emil? Why do we look so demoralized? The team doesn't have the same joy they were playing with for most of the season. The late Brunson injuries are killing us. I think it's a chicken or egg question. Are the vibes down because they're not winning games, or are they not winning games because the vibes are down? It's a good point. It's a good question to ask. I mean, I'll just lean on this. Quickly said it after. I think it was after the Wolves game. It's never as good as it seems when you're winning, and it's never as bad as it seems when you're losing. And I think the way this team has responded this year, when it seemed like they were out, like completely down and out, I think is evidence of the fact that they really do believe that. And even with the Randall thing tonight, which was not great, which again, that is the sort of thing that can shake your team a little bit. I'm not worried about their ability to get that back. Go back home. Go beat Houston. I have a feeling they'll look like they're having fun again. Hush Zoo, RJ vibes are no longer immaculate. I mean, what were they immaculate for? A week and a half, I guess? I don't know. It's tough situation. And I'm gonna be writing about next week because again, this team they just have a lot of guys right now. And it's not only that they have a lot of guys, but they have a lot of guys who are all going to be paid. RJ just got paid. Josh Hart's getting paid this summer. Emmanuel Quickley is going to get paid this summer. And Quentin Grimes is a year away from negotiating his extension. And if you add up all those numbers, all of those numbers are going to be total annually maybe $90 million, 95. RJ is at 26 and change annually. I guarantee you Hart's going to be around 17, 18 annually. Emmanuel Quickley is going to be probably around, if not at least, he's going to be around 20, maybe more than 20. We'll see how he finishes the season, but around 20 annually. And then Quentin Grimes. I mean, if Quentin Grimes continues to progress like we've seen him progress in these last two nights and over the first 2 years, that dude's getting 15 to 20, or if not more. Who the hell knows? So you add it all up, and this team is not going to spend, 60% or 70% or whatever it is. I know the cap's going up, but that's still a shit ton of money. Whatever percentage of its payroll on 4 guys, only 2 of whom are going to be on the court at any given time. That's just not going to happen. There's going to be a consolidation trade, and if I had to wager, there is going to be a consolidation trade this summer. So, yeah, we'll see. Parrish, Duggar, what's going on, Parrish? John, they all have no legs. Tibbs, Randall is spent. We got out of our requisite, it's Tibbs' fault thing. Yeah, I mean, look, Randall, if you want to say Randall's tired, I think that's fair. I don't think anybody else on this team are tired legs the issue for. Randall, fine, fair. They have a lot of days off down the stretch of the season. Let's see how they finish up. Ham DM, blaming Tibbs is so elementary. Look, you can blame the coach. I mean, look, there's always things to do better. There's always things the coach could do better. I'm sure there's a half a dozen things that if I wasn't partial to looking for other reasons why they lose, I'd probably be thinking of right now. You just can't lose to the fucking Magic. You just can't. It's on everybody. Dom Cappuccini with another one. Am I still crazy thinking that they could still beat the Heat after a hiatus and Houston game pending Brunson's availability? The thing I'll say about the Heat game is the Heat are coming into New York on the second night of a back-to-back. They go from Toronto into New York for that game. So that's a good thing. The Knicks will be a little bit more rested than them. That's a good thing. Could they beat the Heat? Absolutely, they could beat the Heat. They almost beat the Heat last night in Miami. They had the lead in that game, and none of their a bunch of their players were not particularly good. So, yeah, they could beat Miami. Come on. Kevin, what's going on, Kevin? My good man, Kevin McEwen. Always happy to hear from you, man. I'm not an RJ hater, but he looks bad. Lack of energy defensively, the turnovers, the kid just looks bad. Is he in his head? Julius's behavior is inexcusable. How are you flexing on your teammate like that? You're flexing on your teammate because you have lost control of your faculties. It's a loss of control. It's so easy to diagnose. My wife is the soon-to-be licensed clinician in the household, but I'm good. I could do that. That is a loss of control, and he needs to be better. As for RJ, man, I don't want to look. The Miami made 7 threes in the fourth quarter. Most of them were open. I feel bad pointing to this one, but like the Cole Anthony 3 that I think was the backbreaker. Pretty sure it was Cole Anthony 3. I should probably look that up, but it was the 3-pointer that was the backbreaker. And I'm actually going to go to it right now. Yeah, it was okay because it was 104-99 with one. Julius had made 2 free throws to make it 104-99 with 119 to go. What did I say, Andrew? Did I say I mixed up Miami and Orlando? Sorry. And then Cole Anthony made 27-foot 3 on a nice pass, by the way, from Gary Harris. Nice, very nice pass. RJ on that play was digging so far into the paint, and the driver was Gary Harris. Now, I haven't watched a whole lot of Gary Harris over the last several years. I could tell you the one thing Gary Harris has no intention of doing is shooting anything other than threes, unless he is wide open or on a fast break or something of that nature. And he was so far dug in there. And it reminded me of the thread, or not the thread, the mini videos that Benji put out a couple days ago, where it's like, it's the little things. It's an extra step, an extra 2 steps when you're helping off. RJ was all the way in the paint, and there's Cole Anthony out there, a guy that you talk about guys you should respect. That is a guy you should respect. And RJ had no chance to get back out to that shot when that went up. Like, it's just the little, and he's not the only one. You know, he's not the only one, but he is the most egregious violator amongst, at the very least, the perimeter defenders on this team, which is a problem, you know, with how they play defense. So I that was frustrating to me. Delsky, what's going on, Delsky? Please, someone call Weiss and Rosenblum for me. I think Weiss and Rosenblum should be getting a lot of calls tonight. There's a lot of personal injuries. I think I need a free consultation because seeing Julius pushing quickly really hurt, but he's still my guy. Just hurts. Yeah. It's really frustrating. You'd love, we all, I don't want to get misty-eyed, but like, you wish they could all be like the captain, right? You wish your leader, you wish your guy was Will Reed, right? Every franchise wishes that. And other franchises get their version of that, whether it is Tim Duncan or Dirk, or I think Steph Curry certainly qualifies, where you don't have to be concerned with these sorts of things, or a Larry or a Magic, although Magic had some coach stuff for a while there. You wish that's what you want, but you're not always going to get that. So, you gotta live with it. I do want to read. I'm doing this kind of in because I think these are all kind of pertinent. So let me read Kevin's super chat first. Reaffirming my take that Quentin Grimes will make an all-star team. Hey, listen, man, if you get some good odds, who would have said Emmanuel Quickley was going to make an all-star team a few years ago? Well, the Quickley Hive would have said that, but most people would not have said that. Now you look at it and you're like, huh, not crazy. Maybe Quentin Grimes would say that. Mikal Bridges. Great comparison. I think Mikal a little bit higher ceiling than Grimes, but still what he's doing right now. Place your bets, man. Place your bets. This is from Tibbs. It's just right now our team, we're out of sorts. That's a great way to put it. Couldn't have put it better myself, Tom. You have to pull together. You go through rough times. You get into things together. You get out of things together. We have to do everything a lot better. We have to be committed to doing it as a team. There's going to be ups and downs that we have to navigate. Everyone does. And we can't lose sight of what we're trying to get accomplished. See, that's why he's my guy. Literally could not put it better. We'll see if it works. Jesse, what's going on, Jesse? Maybe I'll be wrong, but I really think we'll be okay. I like the karma. I like the positivity here. Starter minutes were mostly fine. The bench was atrocious. The Magic are good. RJ speed worries me. He looks so slow out there. I don't want to be snarky because I really appreciate this comment, but like, is this the first game you've watched of RJ this year? I feel like he's looked really slow to me most of the year. Maybe he's picked it up a little bit since the All-Star break, for sure, and that's a good thing. But as I'm watching NBA TV and they just showed a replay of the Julius N1. That was a nice N1, man. Yeah, it's a worry. And boy, is it going to be fascinating when they get in a playoff series. And it's the last 5 minutes. I mean, could you imagine if it's the last 5 minutes of or even just like the second half of a close game 5 or a second half of a close game 3 or something? You know, like, how are the minutes going to look? It's going to be interesting. Thanks, Jesse. Dom Cappuccini. Mitch looked active with a gimp. I think you mean limp. Which is encouraging considering it's just a pain tolerance thing. I think Mitch will be fine. I think Mitch will be fine. That is what I will say. Thank you, Dom. I appreciate it. That made my night, actually. Greg Moran, shout out Pulp Fiction. Greg Moran, the Knicks and my fantasy team heading for the finals need Jalen Brunson back Monday. Gigantic 2 games coming up. Take care of business against the Rockets and then a playoff game against the Heat. I do not think it is an overstatement to say that the Heat game is a playoff game. I don't think it's an overstatement at all to say the Heat game is a playoff game. Now, let's go back to the standings for a half a second. So the Knicks, as we are putting dirt on their grave, are still 2 games up on the Brooklyn Nets at the very least. And they are a game and a half up now on the Miami Heat. So Miami plays Brooklyn on Saturday. We play the Rockets on Monday. And in between when Miami plays Brooklyn and I think when we play them, they also play the Toronto Raptors. So, like, I guess best case scenario for Miami, they beat Brooklyn to go a game behind us. We beat Houston to go back a game and a half up. Let's say they beat Toronto and get back to within a game of us. At that point, you face the Heat in that game. Let's just assume the Heat beat the Nets and the Heat beat the Raptors and we beat the Rockets. Let's assume those 3 things. If those 3 things occur, here's what's at stake. Miami wins that game. They tie us and they own the tiebreaker. And their schedule remaining down the stretch after that scenario would have unfolded would be Dallas at home, key, at Detroit, at Philly, maybe a tough game depending on who plays for Philly, at Washington, and the last game of the season versus the Orlando Magic. I have a feeling by that point they will be in tank mode. Just a guess. So that looks a lot like, at worst 3-2, maybe 4-1. That's Miami's scenario. If we win that Miami game and we go up 2 with the tiebreaker, and again, this is assuming Miami beats both Brooklyn and Toronto, and we beat Houston. At that point, we'll be up 2 games with the tiebreaker. Even if Miami goes undefeated in their final 5 games, we would only have to go 3-2 with this schedule remaining. At Cleveland, tough. Washington, at Pacers, at Pelicans, versus Indiana, versus Pacers. It's a playoff game. It's a playoff game. Plain and simple. It's a playoff game. The funny, I don't know about funny, but like the interesting complicating factor, I suppose, if you want to throw it in there, is what if the Nets beat the Heat when they play each other on Saturday? How much does that change the equation? I can't quite wrap my mind around that at this point. I'm just kind of assuming the Miami Heat are going to beat the Nets. And then if they do beat the Nets, here's the bright side to that, is then at that point, the Nets and assuming we beat the Rockets, at that point, we will go 3 up on the Nets. And then we'll be in pretty good position for the tiebreaker. So the more you talk this out, actually, the more it feels like, hey, there's still a long way to go before the Knicks fall into play-in territory, as long as they can beat the teams they're supposed to beat. But I think in terms of the 5 seed, it's the Heat game. The Heat game is the playoff game. That's it. LDS. What's going on, LDS? A -25 for Obi tells an accurate story. I'm ready to give his minutes to Grimes or Deuce and have Hart play backup 4 on defense. He's a huge net negative. Man, it's tough because if he's not getting out in transition and the three-pointer is kind of where it's been since he came back from injury, he's not helping you all that much. And I think we're at the point with Obi Toppin where, and again, I was doing some writing for something that I'm going to probably drop on Monday today. And like Obi Toppin makes $6.8 million next year, which is not a lot of money. It's his last season on his rookie deal. If you know you're not going to extend that player, and again, we're dealing with a situation where the Knicks are looking to pay Emmanuel Quickley, Josh Hart, and at some point, Quentin Grimes. I have to say nothing of RJ Barrett. Like, if you're not going to extend this player, and this player is not really, he's kind of helping you, and he's not really helping you, and it's like it's up and down, and it's not the best situation, and the whole thing. Like, the writing's kind of on the wall, and for the first time, I thought of this today. And it was funny. We talked about it a lot at the trade deadline. Like, they didn't trade Obi Toppin. Why didn't they trade Obi Toppin? Well, their price was sky high. Why was their price sky high? And we went round and round and round and round. I almost wondered, and this is what I thought of today, did they just were like, you know what? He's a good insurance policy for Randall. Maybe he pops the rest of the season. We're not getting any great offers. There's no reason to trade him right now. And on top of all that, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have a $7 million fungible salary to throw into a deal where the team that's getting him, you're like, you know what? Yeah, sure. We'll take a chance on Obi Toppin. That's a nice little perk if we're making this larger trade. And that would have more value for you as the Knicks this summer than dealing him for, whatever they could have dealt him for at the trade deadline, 2 second-round picks or something. Because that's the best that they were getting. So I think that's part of why he's still here. But all that said, look, still time left. He could still turn it around. You never know. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. Worried that we'll have to trade Quentin Grimes in a star trade because RJ's value is low. RJ's going to be, he'll be neutral salary. It'll be fine. As you said, every team is a Quentin Grimes fit, and conversely, RJ might be tougher. I do agree Grimes is a better fit. I guess my hot take, if you assume that Josh Hart is not going anywhere, which I certainly do. And so shout out to Jake Fisher, friend of the pod, Jake Fisher, and Jake Fisher, who was kind enough to have me on his call-in show a few times, including the last ever call-in show. wrote a wonderful piece on Emmanuel Quickly. He got a sit down with IQ last week, and just really nice piece. And Emmanuel Quickly, like, how do you not love him? In that piece, Emmanuel Quickly says, in no uncertain terms, I want to start someday. And he followed it up with, like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help the team. But he said, I want to start. Like, didn't beat around the bush. He's like, I want to start. Now, is there a world where he could start for the New York Knicks moving forward, including, by the way, next year? Absolutely. There is a world where that happens and where that makes all kinds of sense. What I am wondering, and again, this gets back to the money thing. You're not starting Brunson, Quickly, Hart, and Randall. I mean, I guess, well, there's one guy that you could trade for and probably start those guys and be a contender, and maybe that's where this is headed. But I digress. The point is that where things seem to be headed, you could see a scenario where they looked at Grimes and they looked at Quickly, and when the opportunity to trade for a star player came up, it made sense to them for, like, rotation reasons and money reasons to include one of those two players. And we could have a long conversation about which of those two players has a higher value at the moment and which of those two players will have a higher value this summer and the whole thing. I wonder if that is where we are headed. That's all. I wonder if that is where we are headed. So I'll just leave it at that. Justin, what's going on, Justin? RJ is constantly losing track of his man and giving up wide open threes. It's getting old. Love KFS. You guys are great. I hope we keep the 5th seed. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because that's the stuff that, like, you could deal with someone kind of getting beat off the dribble, but because, like, it's Grimes, it's Hart, it's Quickly, like, the effort is there, and they're going to get back in the play, and it's still going to be a tough shot. It's still going to be a tough play. There are too many times where you watch an RJ on defense and you feel like he's not making it hard on whoever he's guarding. And that's the frustrating part. So, a lot of RJ hate tonight, man. Wow. Maybe that's what we've become central for. If you want to take out your frustration on RJ Barrett, come talk to Macri. Hamdy M, what's going on, Hamdy? For the 3-day break, I own a restaurant and can provide free food. My wife is a therapist and can provide a free therapy session. You think that will help? Who do you want to give therapy to? You want to give therapy to Julius? I wonder if Julius is a therapist. I think all these guys should have. I wish I had I wish I had time and money to have a therapist. I'll say that right now. But all these guys should have therapists. I hope they do. I don't know, but maybe your wife can provide that service. I don't know. We'll see. I'll take the food though. Haitian Ferg, what's going on, Haitian? Always looking forward to your comments, especially after a game like this. Off days coming up will make a difference. I completely agree. And we should say they got the 3 off days coming up right now, which will be a welcome, very welcome. And then the Houston game, 2 days off Miami, 2 days off Cleveland, 2 days off Washington. 1 day off. I misspoke on all of those. 1 day off Miami, 1 day off Cleveland, 1 day off Washington, 2 days off Indiana, and then 1 day off New Orleans, 1 day off Indiana. So you got a 3-day break right now. You got a 2-day break coming up, and no more back-to-backs. That's a good sign. The team needs practice. Not worried at all. Better to have this stretch now with time to fix it before the playoffs. We will get rest. They'll turn it around. Let's go Knicks. I love the positivity. I don't disagree with you. The only pushback I'll give you is I don't know if practice is the answer. I almost feel like Tibbs needs to tell these guys, like, everybody go get drunk tomorrow. Whatever it is you do. Go have fun. Go do something. Ideally, they would do it as a team, but like just go and get right. Whatever getting right looks like for you, go get right. Thanks, Haitian. Appreciate it. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. Thank you for the generosity tonight, Kevin. I appreciate it, man. Stealing a Jeff tweet. Might be time for backup 4 Hart minutes instead of Obi. The Obi fit has run its course and would help the minutes logjam. Hashtag thanks, Okoro. Yeah, so someone else brought this up before, and I didn't really answer it. Oh, see, this is the problem with doing these things: is you start talking with the intention of leading up to making a point, and then because you're me and you're a former attorney and you don't know when to shut the hell up, you forget the point that you were trying to make eventually or initially. The reason I went on the whole diatribe about Obi getting traded potentially this summer and why his salary is just kind of like it's a nice fit at this point, and I think the Knicks may acknowledge as much, and teams kind of know what Obi is and what Obi isn't at this point. I don't think that they will have an issue organizationally with that sort of move because the writing's on the wall, and as they say, it is what it is at this point. I don't think we're going to see it during the regular season. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see it during the regular season. Is there a possibility I could see the game in Miami or the game against Miami, like 2-3 second half minutes for Obi, depending on what's going? I mean, I even then, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not there yet for what it's worth. I'm not there yet. Rob DeLuseman, what's going on, Rob? JM and our man Andrew, bad loss, no getting around it. You guys think they might be tired? Again, if they're tired, they're playing. They got 3 days off, and then they're going to play 3 games, and then they got 2 days off. Like, that can't be the thing at this point. Like, if they are tired, then the tiredness has already wrought its havoc, I guess is what I'll say. Thanks, Rob. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? I hope the days off are beneficial. I've been saying every game is a must-win game now. Amazing game from Grimes. Hart makes such a huge impact. Yeah, I actually didn't love the Hart game tonight. I thought Grimes clearly the 3-star player of the game. It's going to be interesting who I choose for 2 stars and 1 stars. There's a part of me that actually wants to go with Hartenstein and Mitch over Quickly. And I know that might seem controversial, but like I really thought Hartenstein was good. I really thought Hartenstein was good. And Mitch I thought was like I don't know, it wasn't the we've seen Mitch have bigger impacts in games than this, but at the same time you look up and I'm checking the box score right now. Mitch only had the 1 field goal for 2 points, 3 blocks, a steal, 12 rebounds, 6 on the offensive glass, 6 on the defensive glass. Like, that's a really good game, in 31 minutes. And, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough. But, yeah, Grimes gets the 3 stars, and we'll see what we do from there. Quickly, for what it's worth, ended up with 25 points and 7 assists and 5 rebounds, 2 steals and a block, man, and 3 turnovers. On 17 shots, 25 points on 17 shots. Not great efficiency, but like not terrible. Thanks, Jessica. Dom with another one. Dom, you really are. I thought you were like, I'm only doing 1 tonight. The defensive efficiency improved to 1 spot. Oh, did we? Oh, yay. Let's wave a banner for that. And then it's lose. I'm grasping at straws. Have a good night. Tibbs, take him to Disney World or something. I love that. That's a great idea. Better yet, have Dolan pay who's in charge of Disney now? Isn't it isn't Iger back in is Iger back in charge? Iger. It is Iger. Okay. Have Dolan call up Big Bob and say how much to close the park early tomorrow. And just let the Knicks have at it, or like close, or like open it late tomorrow, and give the Knicks free reign in Disney World. I think that's a fantastic idea. we'll see if they do that. Haitian Ferg with another one. Fans only watch their team and assume things based on narrative too much. It sickens me. Pay attention around the league. Everyone gives up threes. The energy after losses is so fair weather. Toughen up. I mean, look, it's again. I'll borrow Andrew's line. Fan is short for fanatic. The thing I'll say about the open threes, I looked it up today. Since the Hart trade, but before the Hart trade, the Knicks were giving up the fifth most or the fifth highest frequency of open threes in the league. Since the Hart trade, before tonight, the Knicks were the 12th lowest frequency of wide open threes, I should say. What not open threes, wide open threes. But the wide open threes are the ones you really don't ideally want to give up. And the Knicks, since the Hart trade, have been doing really, really well with that. So haven't been doing great at it lately. It's, tough to play defense in this league. That's what I'll say. Thank you, Haitian. I appreciate your thoughtfulness and attempting to talk me off the ledge. Swaggy OG, what's going on, Swaggy? If I'm a star or a one, I wouldn't want to play with Randall. All right, it's a fair take. His ego is too big. I love Randall, but his stubbornness and inability to control his emotions will be our downfall. The team goes as he goes. I don't feel comfortable speaking on that just because I feel like I'd be talking out of my ass. You're giving your opinion. If you were a star, you would not want to do that. I don't think it has anything to do with Randall's ego. I really don't. And I think the one thing that I've probably been most impressed with from Randall this year is at the end of the game, even games he's having a really good game, he cedes the reins to Brunson. And that's a big step, I think, in the right direction. And he's talked openly about how he welcomed Jalen Brunson coming here. And those guys have been really good together. I don't I don't think it's an accident that the team scores a ton of points when those guys play together. It works. It works really well. Now, if you're another, I think it depends on the star. There are stars who want all the shots. There are some stars who don't really care about the shots that much. That's why I think it's going to be an interesting summer. It really is going to be an interesting summer. Thank you, Swaggy. Appreciate that. Alex with another one. Thank you for the generosity, Alex. As long as we don't Willie Randolph the Mets our way to the end of the regular season, this adversity will make the team stronger for the playoffs and future. I hope Randall didn't poison the continuous soup. No, he didn't. And that was, I knew we were going to see GMAC's face. I will never forget. What did Glavine last an inning and a third?
One out.
Oh, it was only an out. It was one out.
Tom Glavine, Hall of Fame pitcher. We did this when the Mets were collapsing this season. Yeah, how about that? How about the Buck Showalter Mets, which ironically is how this is feeling. Vibes are great all year.
Nah, don't do that.
Oh, okay, they'll figure it out. Don't worry. This team is adversity tested. 2 games against a division rival. I guess not even a division rival, but a longtime rival. And, the vibes head that way. Why not, Alex? I thought we were friends. Why not go to how about we don't Joe Torre Yankees?
Because the Mets are the best example.
To it. What, Mets not having a 3-game lead, apparently? Isn't that what they had, a 3-game lead on the Heat? So it'd be exactly what happened to the Yankees in 2004. Sure. That is the greatest collapse in sports history, let alone baseball history. So
I thought the Mets actually took advantage of the greatest collapse in sports history in, what was it, 1969?
Well, that's so 86 is the Red Sox one, the up with 2 outs.
No, I mean down the stretch of the season where a team
the Cubs did collapse, but that was baseball's hard to evaluate back then. The Mets won 100 games. It's tough to say a team that that when you lose to a team that won 100 games, it's tough to evaluate that. Well, Alex, I see you in the chat. I don't care if it's regular season. If you want to talk about collapses, let's talk about the greatest collapse ever.
Alex,
starring Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez and Gary Sheffield and all those great Yankees, right?
Alex, I think it's really unfortunate that you're getting personally attacked.
I was attacked first, okay? I had to go on Giancarlo's show tonight and deal with that, and now I get it from my own people? Come on now.
just happy I'm not a Mets fan. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you.
Since when? Does Dolores know this?
I'm not a fan of any baseball
I'm clipping
team.
this and sending this to Dolores. That's what's happening.
She doesn't watch a Mets game in 2 years, please. Thanks, Alex. RJ team, where's Mark Berman when you need him? Berman will ask the tough questions. Missed that about him. Hate his articles though. Berman's living it up in Palm Beach. Don't bother him. Or Delray or Boca or Deerfield Beach or one of those towns. Kay and Marco take Mob General. Zion and Ja both had teams that gave them the keys and made them the vocal point. This is of all of the RJ points, this is my least favorite one. RJ has never gotten that luxury. It's not a fair comparison. That is the biggest pile of steaming horse shit that I've ever heard anyone say about anything ever. The notion that this player, with his deficiencies, that he still has after 4 years, that the answer was more usage and more shots? Come on. Kevin Danishevsky, agree on Hives. I try to say it when Quentin Grimes struggles. Yeah, the Hives suck. And they make nonsense points like the last one. Oh, God. Frank Miranda, what's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. Please skip up your RJ points. It's time to take the kid gloves off with this player. RJ stands, protect him like they are the Secret Service. Hashtag give him the Randall energy from last season. Hey, here's an interesting one. You know who? I'm going to name two players. I'm going to name two players who were both taken in the back half of the lottery and who, if there were 30 general managers and the 30 general managers had an opportunity, you could select player A, player B, or player C. I think, and the three players I should say are Mikal Bridges, Franz Wagner, and RJ Barrett. I don't know. Would maybe 20 at this point would select Mikal because he's had these flashes with Brooklyn. 25, I don't know, but then I feel like I'm being too much of a slight to Franz, right? Who is in his second year. Mikal and Franz is younger too. And Mikal, was an older player when he came in, and all of the things. Whatever. 30 GMs would put those guys 1 and 2 in some order, including the Knicks, by the way. And 30 GMs would put RJ Barrett last. And the reason I bring up those two players specifically is those two players, after having been big-time usage guys or bigger-time usage guys in college. I know Franz wasn't like the biggest usage guy at Michigan. But like Mikal, he got a bunch of opportunities, especially by his last year there. They had to come in and adjust and just be like, this is your role. Be a star in your role. And you know what those players did? They were stars in their role. And for a year or two, Mikal Bridges was like the most efficient non-big in the league. Aside from being an all-defense caliber player and a guy who many felt should have been the defensive player of the year last year. And Franz Wagner is a guy at this point who, like, I don't know, who are you taking over him from that draft? Like, yeah, you're okay. That's maybe a bit too much. You're taking Mobley over him, and you're taking Barnes for sure. But like, I think there are people that would take Franz over Cade at this point. I think there are absolutely a lot of people. Most people probably would take Franz over Jalen Green at this point. Like, and why is that? Because again, there's not big usage in the world, but there is just no argument that like, oh, you know what the key to unlocking a young player is? They need all the shots. No. If you're a good player, guess what? You're going to show yourself to be a good player. Even Scotty Barnes last year. Scotty Barnes had to share the court and the floor with Pascal Siakam, all-star, Fred VanVleet, all-star, OG Anunoby, apple of everyone's eye, Gary Trent Jr., I'm getting my shots up. And you know what he did? Found a way. Like Dr. Malcolm once said, life finds a way. Funny how life finds a way when you're good. Just utter nonsense. It's nonsense. It has no basis in fact. And the last thing, by the way, how many different players have we seen throughout NBA history that everybody wants to ignore the statistical comps? I can't believe I'm doing an RJ thing tonight. But how many different players throughout NBA history where you could go look, and there are countless players, and I've written about them because I've done the research. I've done the homework where they've gotten all the usage in the world over years 1, 2, 3 in better, similar situations to RJ. And then they get all the usage. And then by a certain point, their team realizes, this isn't really working out great. Like, RJ's not the first guy. Like, RJ's gotten a ton of usage. He was a 30 usage guy for 4 months last year. The year before that, he got a ton of usage. The year before that, he got a fair amount of usage. He took, the second or third most shots in the league? I get the spacing was shit as a rookie. But, come on. There are examples of this. Countless examples of this. Guys who get picked early and their teams give them carte blanche. Oh, my God. Sean Hardy. What's going on, Sean? RJ versus Orlando all time. 15, 6, and 3 on 39% shooting, 24% from 3, and 67% from the line. Woof. Yeah. Not great. Thanks, Sean. Frank Miranda with another one. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I'm giving out all the RJ smoke tonight. Seriously, is he a starting caliber wing on a contender? Hashtag hell no. I think he's a really good 6-man. That's what I think his destiny is. I think he's going to be a really good 6-man. I think he could be a really good 6-man. Give him the ball, let him go to work, put his head down, surround him with shooting, 5 out, put him with a floor spacing 5, so you don't have to worry about any sorts of issues in terms of a cluttered paint and drive and kick. Like Cole Anthony, honestly. That's what the Magic are trying to turn Cole Anthony into. Now, Cole Anthony's a more skilled shot maker than RJ Barrett, but RJ Barrett could get downhill a hell of a lot better than Cole Anthony. I think that's probably RJ's destiny. If I had a little bit more faith in his defense, I do think he's a starting caliber wing. But that's the funny part of it is like what we've seen the previous 4 games before tonight, his offense is absolutely a number 3 on a championship team. Absolutely. It's more you got to be a lockdown defender. You got to be Franz Wagner. You got to be Mikal Bridges. You got to be that, Drew Holiday. You got to be that caliber of defender if you're going to be the number 3 on a contending team and the prototypical big wing. Got to defend. Sam Garcia's dad. What's going on, Sam Garcia's dad? How the team handles this adversity will tell the story of this season. Yeah, I mean, that's been the story of the season so far. They've handled adversity very well. Let's see if they can keep it up. I agree. Zach Horowitz, what's going on, Zach? Do we need Kurt Rambis to run the defense again? God, I hope not. Once was enough. Thanks, Zach. Sam Garcia's dad with another one. Ray, you're too much. Blowing out Houston will be a nice lead into beating the Heat. Time for my belief in Knicks culture. This front office, head coach, and players have developed to show up. Yeah, this is like what Tibbs said. It's what Tibbs said. It's the quote that I read. Like, they're in it right now. They're out of sorts. No one's denying they're out of sorts. The freaking coach is admitting we're out of sorts. How are you going to handle it? You going to find your way out, or are you going to let it consume you? This is their moment. This is their moment. And Jesse M with another one. Can you expand on your RJ will be gone this summer take? They have too many guys to pay. They're going to play quickly. They're going to play Hart. They know they have to pay Grimes. And RJ is a big, fat this summer. He's due next year, $23.8 million. Perfect salary to put into a trade to bring back a star player. The only way I think RJ does not get moved, because if there's a star on the market, I think RJ's going to be in the deal. Like, I don't think there's any question about that. The only way that I think he's back next year is if there's just no deal that they like, which, we'll see. El Coriano 11. What's going on, El Coriano 11? If a genie offered a 25% chance to win the finals or a guaranteed first pick in the draft, which would you choose? I'd go with the pick. 25. That's such a weird question. I would go with the first pick in the draft. Definitely. The first pick will change somebody's franchise this year. Frank Miranda with another one. Frank, you're too much, man. Seriously. Thank you. What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. 30 general managers would take IQ and Grimes over RJ. No need to perform that exercise outside of our own team. Man, it's wild. I wonder if someone would take RJ over Grimes. Is this the last comment, Andrew? You should come up here for this.
What's up? I'm talking shit with Alex in the chat because he's still talking about the Mets and their collapses, but I can help out.
Do you think there's a GM that would take RJ over Quentin Grimes right now?
Nah.
I don't mean literally right this second.
No. Are we saying talent wise, like everybody's a free agent with no contract to sign? Or are we going by
no?
With
the I think you have to factor in the contract.
So I'm getting Grimes on a rookie deal?
Yeah.
What's the question?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Alex.
All right. We got anybody else?
No, that's it. We starting. Man, he goes, Andrew, we are good as long as the Mets don't pull a 2022 Buck Showalter Mets to end the season. So he did switch it up. And he goes, if we go up 3-0 on the Celtics, then you could bring up the Yankees. I also hope the Knicks don't hit 200 down the stretch like Derek Jeter did in the 2004 ALCS, but never gets brought up.
Wow.
A-Rod had like a 900 OPS, but nobody cares, right? Derek Jeter got every big hit except during the biggest collapse in baseball history.
Yeah. You enjoying that?
It's getting me through the Knicks right now, okay? We're all coping in our own ways.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Programming notes. I think Jeremy and I, the second half of the pod that we recorded last weekend is dropping Saturday.
Which has such a different vibe than what the vibes are right now.
Oh, my God, yeah. Let's record an intro for that or something. And then we'll have a usual episode dropping on Monday. And then on to Houston. Or back to New York, I should say.
Pre-game pod, obviously, with your pod with Jeremy on Monday. I booked that today, so... Same schedule, 3 days off, but then we'll get back into it for the home stretch on Monday.
Indeed we do. Indeed we do. Keep your heads up, Knicks fans. I don't think all is not lost. Let's just say that. Rough patch right now, that's all. I'll see everybody later.
There you
Peace
go.
out.
Take care, everybody.